Hi, welcome to our back to school presentation for 5th grade.
Welcome to everyone. The goal of our presentation today is just to share information about what our online day will look like. Many of you already have an idea since we've already gone through a few days online, but this presentation might help you understand it a little clearer and then also understand the work that your child is going to be doing throughout the first semester, and we will also talk about the expectations for our 5th grade students.
The structure of the day, we started it this week, so hopefully the kids are familiar with it, but morning meetings will begin, and that's accessed through the homeroom page, as well as usually a schedule for the day will be posted up there as well. Reading, writing, and math are all set up very similar. For each of those subject areas, there's a 15-minute recorded lesson. Then we will meet together briefly as a whole group, and this can be found on the subject page that we're in. So for math, there's a link on the side for our meeting. And then after that, we will break out into small groups to meet with the teacher and sometimes independent conferencing. And the students will be given some independent work to complete when they are not in the meeting with their teacher. Science and social studies is a half an hour long block, so there is a 15-minute pre-recorded lesson, and then we typically meet as a whole group for 15 minutes for a follow-up discussion.
So
we will be
Keller, I'm sorry.
That's okay. So for our math curriculum, it's the same one that we've been using for the past few years. We're going to be using Envision Math. There is a lot of online resources for Envision, and we're going to be using some of the online resources for assignments and tests. And then your students also have the actual math book, and so some of the assignments we ask them to do will be in their math book, but they're not to turn in, they're for practice. The computer ones are ones we will look at more often for assessing. We will have small groups in math as well, but these will sometimes vary from day to day. So your student might be in group one day and group 2 the next day, because the math grouping is a little more flexible. Topics we cover, so our first few units are multiplication, division, then we move into decimals with place value. We adding, subtracting, and multiplying with decimals, and finally we'll move into fractions.
So our curriculum for reading and writing, this year we're super excited because we have adopted the Lucy Calkins reading workshop units of study. We've been doing the Lucy Calkins writing workshop units of study for a few years now, and this year we will be transitioning into doing that also for reading workshops. So it will be more of a workshop approach than what the students will be used to from CSI. So a little bit of a shift for that. Our units will include, the first one is Up the Ladder fiction. Then we'll be doing Up the Ladder nonfiction. We do interpretation book clubs, and then we end with a unit called Argument and Advocacy. Within that reading workshop time, students will get a pre-recorded whole group mini lesson, some small group time, and then individual conference time, just like we've been doing for writing over the last couple years. And the writing will continue as we have in the past. Our first unit this year is a narrative unit, then we go to a journalism unit, literary essay, and then finally argumentative essay. And some, just as in the reading, we have a small pre-recorded mini lesson. We'll have time for small group instruction and then also individual writing conferences. With the kids are used to having those writing conferences as we've been doing them over the last couple years.
For science and social studies, it will look a little different as we begin online this year. We're starting with social studies, and we will continue with social studies until October 12th. At that time, we will switch over to our science curriculum. So in our social studies curriculum throughout the year, our first topic is the Civil War. That's what we're starting on now. We hope to finish that even before our October 12th when we switch over into science. But after that, we'll get into immigration, the Great Depression, and civil rights. In science, We will first hit Earth and Space, that's our October 12th unit. We then have physical science, life science, and an environmental unit in there as well. For our science and social studies lessons, since they are short, but we do get them every day, we're going to ask the kids to keep a notebook and they can kind of keep track of their thinking. They might be asked to write responses or keep track of data, things like that in their notebook as we go along.
So we have reviewed these expectations with the students already this week. Little different than a typical year because we are virtual, but there are still a lot of similarities. And we actually kind of had that discussion with the students this week as we went over these rules. So they are familiar with this document. We did add a few extras for 5th grade. We really are hoping that the students are comfortable having their camera on during class. They like being able to see each other and we want them to be able to communicate with each other. But if for some reason a student is uncomfortable having their camera on, there is an option in the Teams meeting where they can blur their background so that all we're seeing is a student and we're not seeing the environment in which they are sitting. So that is an option for students if that helps them make them feel more comfortable having their camera on. We are expecting that 5th graders will participate in our discussions by sharing their thinking, asking questions, talking about their ideas, just as if we were in school. We want them to appropriately use the chat bar. We've already had some discussions about that this week. We don't want the chat bar to become a distraction during class. We want them to be able to use it for the correct purposes, for responding, for giving information, that type of thing. All work needs to be submitted on time. After Friday night, and it's late Friday night, the lessons are archived so that our overview page doesn't become super cluttered with lots of old lessons. We want to keep that page kind of simple so that the students can find what they need for the current instruction.
Okay, and just the easiest way for you and your child to contact us. So we have office hours every day from 3 to 3:50, and on Friday on our asynchronous day from 9:45 to 11. So to contact us, we have Class Dojo, which I think our class has 100% participation. All the parents have signed up. And email is great for me and Mrs. Sexton. For the students, they can also use email, but in addition to that, they can use It's Learning. There's a chat feature, which all the students have been shown this week how to use, and Microsoft Teams. We also instructed them on how to send us an email from their student account. So anything you need, please let us know. We are more than happy to help in any way we can if we know the answers. And so if you have any questions, just use those methods to contact us. And we want to thank you for all the support that you've given us as we begin this interesting school year.
Definitely a very interesting start to the school year. Thanks for watching.
Bye.